Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Lovely to see you all saying hello in the sidebar, letting us know where you're tuning in from, as you do every day. So please feel free to say hi if you haven't introduced yourself already. I'm Caroline, and we're here today again with Kyra Jewel Lingo for today's daily meditation. We will be with you, as always, for an hour or so. Starting off with a little bit of a reflection, going into a Dharma talk, and then finishing up at the end with a chance for questions. So if you would like to put a question to Kyra Jewel during that section of the session, feel free to do so. We'd love to invite you on screen if you would like to come on and have a bit more of a conversation with her. If you would like to do that, then just type a message in the sidebar there and I can bring you on. Just make sure that you're using Chrome or Firefox if you'd like to do that. Alternatively, as ever, there is the opportunity to put a question in writing. Just click on ask a question if you'd like to do that. It's better to avoid doing that in the sidebar because the sidebar can move quite quickly and it's likely that Kyra Jewel will miss it if you put it in the sidebar. So click on ask a question. There's a pop-up box that comes up and you can pop your question in there. The other thing I'd like to mention is dana, generosity, or donations, because bringing these sessions to you every day is actually quite an expensive endeavor. We have to pay for the cost of this platform. Every session that we bring to you, it has a cost associated with it just to actually technically do it. And then we also have ongoing costs with running Sangha Live more generally. So just the day-to-day running costs of all the software that we use, the people that we get advice from, hosting the websites, various things, and the costs are very definitely ongoing. So we do rely on your generosity to meet those costs. We don't get money from anywhere else. So we'd be really, really grateful if you could donate something. If it's a large amount, that's great. If it's a small amount, that's great as well. Everything is very gratefully received, and anything you give, half of it will also go towards supporting Kyra Jewel. So if you would like to give, just click on the green donation button right underneath your video screen there, and a few different options will be presented to you. So I think that's all I have to say. I hope that you enjoy the session, and I'll hand over to Kyra Jewel. A good idea if I took myself off rather than Kyra Jewel. It's because you're on the other side of the screen, Kyra Jewel. I automatically click that button because I'm not used to seeing you there. Okay, I'll take myself off now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Caroline, and greetings to each of you. Thank you for coming today. It's always good to see you. And welcome to anyone who's here for the first time. I'm glad you've joined us. So today I want to share about how we can bring mindfulness into our relationships with others. And the main idea here is that other people are the path. Other people are the very practice that awakens us. So it's our relationships that give us the opportunity to understand and transform our minds, our hearts, all of who we are. So when I was a novice nun, just newly ordained, one of the things that we did as a way to be trained was we had the chance to be attendants for our teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, or Thai, which is teacher in Vietnamese. So each of us would have, we'd be on a rotation and we'd get a turn to spend the day taking care of him, and he'd be at our hamlet. So we'd care for him, preparing tea and helping bring his food. And then we'd have some time to be with him as he would rest. We'd always be in pairs, so 2 nuns together, or 2 monks. And so it was also an opportunity for him to get to know us and to give us guidance. So in my first few months as a nun, there was a sister that I found, quite difficult. There were a few sisters, actually. I might have told you a story about another one earlier, but this is a new one. So this sister was, had a lot of suffering and could be really judgmental or harsh in her speech, though she had many good qualities too, as I would come to know, and I grew to love her. But in this first few months, I suffered a lot from the strict, the harsh, the interactions with her. And I think maybe Ty had some idea about this suffering that I was going through. I don't know. Sometimes he would ask our mentors, how is this novice doing? What support do they need? So I'm not sure. But on that day when I was attending Ty, after lunch, and he was resting, and we were just quietly sitting after pouring him tea, he just looked over at me and he said, he called me Chil Ngiem. That was my Vietnamese name, Sister Jewel. He said, Chil Ngiem, other people are the path. He just said that in this very Zen master way. Like, if you're suffering, you can really learn to see this as your path towards awakening. This isn't something that's not supposed to be happening. Difficulties in relationships are not mistakes. They're not some accident. They are the path. And not just difficulties, of course, but loving experiences with others, beautiful connections with others. That's also the path. All of it is the path. Other people in their wonder and also in their terror and in their, deepest woundedness, they're all the path. It's not by going around that we get to deepen our wisdom, our love. It's by going right into the fire of relationships, whatever they bring, that we really deepen our practice. So I've never forgotten that, because he just looked me right in the eye and he said it like, it was one of those, okay, got to remember this. So I bring it up often when I run into difficulties with people or with, challenges, confusing situations. It's like, okay, how can I be present for this experience and see it as my path and not as something, some annoyance or some, misfortune. No, relationships, other people are my path. It is the path. So one of the things that Ty would share about living in community, which was a big part of our life as monastics. We had at least always 30 sisters. Nowadays it's like 60, 70 sisters living in one hamlet together. that this living together, also for the lay people who would come, and they would be, 30, 40 people as lay people living together for several weeks, several months. So he talked about it as like in his time when he was a novice, the way they would wash the chopsticks was they would just rub them up against each other. They didn't always have soap or things like that, but the friction would clean the chopsticks. And he would say, Sangha life is like that. You're, living in community, being surrounded by all these relationships. It's like being rubbed up against each other so that you get clean, so that the things that have stuck onto you that aren't needed, that aren't supportive for you, they get knocked off. And it doesn't always feel so good. But it is a real opportunity, if we can see it that way, to investigate, what is it in me that's got reactive to this person? What is it that I'm holding on to? What is it that I don't see about myself that this painful interaction is helping me to get clear about? So one time this really came clear to me. I was living in Germany, and I was really struggling in my relationship with another sister, who we were friends, but we also had this very difficult relationship at times. Anyway, there was often this lament in me that would say, gosh, if she would just not be here, I would be so much happier. That there was so much suffering that came about from our interactions that I often thought, oh, if she would go to another monastery, things would get much easier for me. Well, that came to pass. She requested to go to another center for the winter retreat for 3 months. And she was given permission, and she went. And there was this big sigh of relief that, things were going to get much easier now. But the funny thing is that the opposite happened. Things actually got worse. Or I ended up having a really difficult winter, and there was a lot of, things I was unhappy about in the community and in myself. And then at some point I just was like, wow, look at that. You thought she was the one that was causing you suffering, but really it's your own mind. It's your own way of relating to things and seeing things. Even when this person who you thought was the cause of your difficulty was gone, you suffered even more. So that taught me a big lesson about where I put responsibility for my own experience. And she came back, and actually our relationship deepened into something very, very supportive, and a lot of that suffering got transformed. So the practice that I have found helpful, and that our community, the monastic and lay community at Plum Village, has made a deep practice and offered to others, is the practice of beginning anew, which is an opportunity to stop and look at our relationships, usually with another person, but could be with a group, and really take time to look into them to see what they need and how they could grow more beautifully. So we would do this every 2 weeks as nuns, and also the monks, also the lay people. We would come into the meditation hall, and it would be this ceremony. We'd call it the Beginning Anew ceremony. And there were 4 possible steps. So we would, anyone who wanted could share their appreciation for one person or for the many people, sharing their gratitude, what people there had done that had really been of support to them. And families do this. The encouragement is to do it once a week on a beginning of your weekend or beginning of your time together where you're not focused on work, and to share what you appreciate in each other, to refresh yourselves and see the good, because we can easily take that for granted and forget. We often see only what's wrong, and we forget to see all the good things that are going right. So we call that flower watering, that each of us is like a human flower and we need water in order to be fresh. And when we spend time expressing our appreciation, it makes everyone feel more fresh, more beautiful, more energized. And I would find that often if I was having low energy and I maybe didn't want to go to beginning anew, I would go, and I would always leave feeling more energized, more refreshed. Even if nobody had watered my flower in particular, just hearing anyone else's flower being watered was like nourishment for me. So that's the first thing we can share. The second thing is our regrets. We can express any regret for how we might have been unskillful in the previous week or two. And it's a way to get that off of our chest and not keep holding our feeling of guilt or remorse, and just say, I'm sorry that this happened. So then we release that, we move forward, and then the relationship is freshened by letting go of that. And it's so good to be able to be honest and to say, yes, I made a mistake, to not feel we have to cover that over or be proud and not admit our mistakes. It can be a real gift to those we love, and a very good example also for adults, especially to share their regrets in front of children, and then the children realize we're all human and it's okay to make mistakes. We can forgive each other. A third aspect of this practice is to share any difficulties that we're going through, any preoccupations, so that people close to us can be supportive and also know not to take it personally if we're going through a rough time because of something that happened at work, or our parent is ill, or something they may not otherwise know. We can let them know so that they can offer us more space, or there's just if they notice we're not talking much, or we look worried, they know why, and they don't think it's something they did. And then a last area that we can do, this usually is just between two people, the two people involved, is to share our hurts, to share any confusion, any difficulty we've had with the other person, so that doesn't get suppressed and then start to kind of fester under the surface. So it's an opportunity to, without judgment, without blame. So we need to do usually some kind of practice before we share our hurts, so that we calm our minds down, calm ourselves down, and see the situation clearly. That we share, this, what you did, what you said, I don't understand. Could you help me understand where that was coming from, because it hurt me? So it's a way to reestablish communication and understanding, and preserve our love. Because if we let too many of these misunderstandings go without speaking to them, they can accumulate and become a big volcano that can destroy our relationship. So these are the 4 steps, and I'm going to invite us to do a meditation where we explore them in ourselves. And this is from a Dharma teacher in Berlin, Germany, Annabelle Zinzer, from her book, Small Bites, Mindfulness for Everyday Use. So, coming into a posture that supports your alertness and also ease. I pressed a button. Can you hear me now? Great. Okay. Sorry for that. So coming into a supportive posture and feeling your connection to the earth, feeling the places where your body is making contact with whatever you're sitting on, standing, lying on. Just allowing your body to open and settle right where you are. And connecting to the flow of your breath. Feeling the in-breath, feeling the out-breath. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. In, out. Breathing in, I open myself to recognize my own positive qualities. Breathing out, I want to recognize the positive qualities in my partner, friend, coworker, or family member. Connecting with my own positive qualities, recognizing the goodness in those I'm close to. Breathing in, I want to find many examples of the positive qualities in my partner, friend, coworker, family member, and express my appreciation. Breathing out, I connect with the joy that my words of appreciation can bring to my partner, friend, coworker, or family member. Expressing appreciation, creating joy for those I care about. And touching how I can create joy for the other person and also for myself when I express my appreciation. Breathing in, I'm willing to recognize how my words or actions may have hurt another person. Breathing out, I'm willing to apologize to them, to express my regret. Willing to recognize how my words or actions have hurt someone. Willing to apologize. I care about when I'm encountering a difficult situation. Breathing out, I assure the other person that my unusual behavior isn't related to anything that they have done. Willingness to share my difficulty, assuring others that they are not the cause of my difficulty. Opening to the willingness to keep lines of communication open with those I care about, to clear out any misunderstandings. Breathing in, I'm aware that sometimes I feel hurt by another's words or actions. Breathing out, I'm willing to practice to calm my mind in sitting or walking meditation, to take good care of this hurt. Aware that sometimes I get hurt, willing to calm myself with the practice, to care for this hurt. Breathing in, I ask to talk to my partner or friend or coworker or family member about my hurt feelings when I'm calm. Breathing out, I share my hurt feelings in a mindful, caring way without accusing or blaming the other person. Sharing my hurt feelings with mindfulness and care and without blame. And if any moments arise in your mind where you have been blaming of another or haven't expressed your hurt skillfully, holding yourself with compassion, with forgiveness, knowing that it's possible to shift this and learn from these experiences also. Aspiring to express ourselves more lovingly in the future. Breathing in, I feel the joy that comes from communication based on goodwill, truthfulness, and appreciation. Breathing out, I smile. Joy from truthful, caring communication, smiling. So as we sit here together, body and mind fully here, we can close our practice making the aspiration to express our appreciation to those in our lives on a regular basis, to express our regrets, to say sorry when we make mistakes, to share about what our difficulties or preoccupations are in our lives so that others can be of support or give us space. And lastly, we aspire to share our hurt in a caring way so that we can clear out resentments and frustrations with each other as much as possible. So as you're ready, bringing attention back into our space together, taking some moments to transition. And I will share in the chat the 4 steps of beginning anew. So welcome back. Um, You're welcome to share your experiences in the chat, and also now to ask questions in the Ask a Question button. And for some reason my chat is stuck. I can't seem to see the new chats coming through. Did the 4 steps of beginning anew come through? I don't seem to be able to send them through.
Kyra Jewel, you may want to try refreshing your browser.
Sure, I'll do that. Okay. Can you all see the 4 steps now? Okay. Great. So there are 2 questions. I'll answer. The name of the book I mentioned in the beginning is called Small Bites. Mindfulness for Everyday Use. That's the book by Annabelle Zinzer. And I'll just put all of her information for you in the chat also. Okay, she is in Berlin. And I really like this practice. Is there a book or guidance to be able to use this with groups? Yes. A number of books by Thich Nhat Hanh have the explanation of the 4 steps of beginning anew. And there's a book called Teachings on Love, which is about the Buddha's teachings on the 4 aspects of true love. And that has, I think, a whole chapter that explains beginning anew and how to ease situations of conflict. So that could be a helpful book. I'll put that in the chat as well. So Teachings on Love by Thich Nhat Hanh. And there are other books also that mention beginning anew. Thank you, Patricia. Patricia shares a deep appreciation for sharing essential practices of your monastic community life and training. It comes across in the way you've been caring for us in these mornings. I feel very blessed to have met you as a meditation teacher. Thank you. Okay, and Clive, well, I'll just tell you, Patricia and everyone, I feel very blessed to have the occasion to be able to practice with each of you. It's really something I look forward to each day. So Clive has added to his question, and I meant to ask how to use this with a group where there is a toxic culture with a predatory manager. So I think one aspect of beginning anew that can be very powerful and very sneaky in a good way, kind of very subtle, is the expressing appreciation. So in a toxic culture, people are likely not feeling very seen, not feeling very acknowledged or appreciated. And so you can start. You can have your own, subversive practice of expressing appreciation to people that you work with. As long as it's sincere, it's not flattery, but even someone wearing a nice, jacket to work, or someone does their work in a good way on time, making a point to really appreciate that, to notice that, can start to shift the culture, even in small ways. And it can become contagious as you begin to share what you appreciate. Then others may feel more relaxed, more safe, and begin to share what they appreciate. That's with your peers, with people that you may have some influence over. As far as with the predatory manager, one of the powerful things about this practice is that reconciliation takes place within ourselves. While this is a practice about sharing with others, when they have hurt us or when we have hurt them, sometimes that's not possible. Like if someone's passed away, we can't reconcile with them. Or if someone refuses to engage with us in this way, there's still things we can do in our own practice to bring about reconciliation. So part of that is looking deeply to see, have we contributed anything to this toxic situation? If not, wonderful. We know there's not something we need to shift in our behavior. But if it's a lot of suffering is being expressed from someone in power, we can look deeply to try to understand what they may be going through, to see if there's anything we can have an influence on that could shift things in the dynamics of the group or for them. Sometimes expressing our sincere appreciation to them can be a practice that helps them get in touch with their own goodness and be less toxic. That can be the case, not always. I have a friend in Botswana who shares a story of working for a boss who was very, very difficult and very, very toxic. And she was very unhappy, but she started doing the practice of metta, of loving kindness every day, and she would send loving kindness to her boss in her meditation. She would wish her well. She would wish that she be healthy and safe and find a way through her suffering. And she said after, I don't know, a few weeks or maybe months of this practice, it was her boss who wrote her the recommendation and sort of opened the doors for her to get her dream job, which she really, really wanted, this other job, and her boss sort of really helped her to get there. So, things are impermanent, people are impermanent, and if we hold the space in our hearts for someone, if we believe in their own goodness, even if they don't believe in it and they don't express it, that can have an effect. That can influence the field. But more than anything, it's not about practicing loving kindness to change someone else. It's about shifting our own hearts to find more and more space for those that are creating harm. Space in the sense of seeing their goodness. And it may be that we also need to speak up and stop harm from happening. Maybe we have to go to the manager above that manager and really tell the truth about what's not working. But still with this willingness to see that they can shift and change and to wish to, nourish the good in their own heart. So I hope that this practice can be helpful for you in that situation. I'll just, I think we'll end soon, but I noticed that To Whom wrote that an important reflection that this practice allows me to see I don't want to give flowers because they don't. So that's a very human, very natural experience. We don't want to water someone's flower if they're not watering our flower. And To Whom you also write, and I feel like I'm going backwards when I apologize. This sense of maybe I'm, putting myself down or not standing up for myself if I apologize. That maybe I give someone a leg up, give someone something to stand on to then give me, to criticize me or give me a hard time. So both of those things are really good to see, to understand. It's very good mindfulness to see that's your resistance to these two steps. And I think one thing that can be helpful is just to get in touch with, say you appreciate someone who's neutral to you. I mean, you don't have any grudge against them. You're not waiting for them to be appreciative of you. Just connect with how good it feels actually to appreciate them. Sometimes it catches them by surprise. They weren't expecting you to share anything positive about them, and it really makes their day, and they have this light in their eyes, they smile, they have a lighter step as they walk around. So that's quite some power we have to influence others by sharing our appreciation for them. So if you think of it that way, then it's almost like I want to be the first to give that gift. I don't want to wait for them to give me something when I can do something that will make them feel, better about themselves. And let me see that as a real privilege to give them this gift, rather than I'll only do it if they do it. I'm the first person who benefits when I water someone else's flower. It's not them, but I actually benefit first. So why not create a joyful, healthy moment for myself? So it's a little bit selfish, even in a good way. And then with feeling like you're going backwards, if you apologize, that's something we can learn to hold with kindness, with care. And it's actually a very big strength. It takes a lot of grace and courage to be able to apologize. And that actually shows how strong we are, not our weakness. That we're humble, that we're able to see our faults, and that we, what makes apologizing easier is if we don't need ourselves to be perfect. The more we accept ourselves, the easier it is to acknowledge, yeah, I make mistakes, that's okay. So having this gentle attitude towards ourselves can really help to make apologizing, less threatening, less scary. So thank you all. It's been really good to be together yet another day. Inviting you to offer dana at the button below the video to support Sangha Live, to support the teachings. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. And my little invitation for those that are still on the call, if you want to practice today to express appreciation to people in your life today, to do something either in an email or a phone call or even just in your heart. You can also do, this is a really nice exercise, you can spread good rumors. You can pick one person and speak positively about them to another person. Share their good qualities with others. So have a wonderful day and see you again soon.